Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James, joined once again by my co-host Cody. Cody, how are you this fine Thursday evening?
Oh, James, I'm fantastic. Had a day off of work unexpectedly because my trainer had a day off. So last week of training, when he's off, I'm off. So I took the day off, had some relaxing time with a friend and just chillaxed and had a good day. Had a good day. James, how are you?
Good, man. I'm good. Getting through work and working tons of hours. Seems like I'm going to be in more and more demand at work, which is not a bad thing.
Nope, not a bad thing at all. Supply and demand, my friend. Supply and demand.
When the supply of drivers falls short, the demand for my services is higher.
And then the demand for moolah rises.
Yeah.
Real quick, obviously we're going to preview the Eagles game on this episode, go over the injury report for both teams and talk a little bit of Steelers news, and then go over our 3 keys to success for defeating the Eagles this week, who are still undefeated. We could be the first ones to knock a big old L on them. Someone else we want to have an L knocked on them real quick. Tonight, Thursday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Go Tom Brady. What's happening to us? I don't know. Anyways.
Come on, Tom, snap out of it.
Yeah, anyways. So next week's the bye week. We will not be recording a pre-show, obviously, leading up to it. So a week from now, today, whatever, Thursday, Friday-ish, we will not be recording an episode. But that Sunday, we will record an episode kind of going over the midseason recap of the Steelers and how we think things are going and certain players and coaches and all the stuff. We'll talk all the stuff. We'll talk standings. We'll go into all the details of that. So be on the lookout for that. Again, that is going to be not this upcoming Sunday, but the following. So that will be coming up. But now it's time to talk Steelers news, James.
Yeah. So we're starting off with some injury-related news per the usual. I got a couple guys on the injured reserve. There's been a lot of talk the last few weeks after Calvin Austin III, the rookie wide receiver, 4th-round pick, extreme speedster, little guy, started his 21-day window and unfortunately is not healthy enough to be removed from this 21-day window. He is not going to be coming back to the team this year, unfortunately. What I'm hearing through multiple reports is that he unfortunately re-injured the injury. Sounds like he had a Liz Frank going on and suffered a setback on it and is going to be undergoing surgery, which absolutely puts him out for the remainder of the season. So there was no point in doing anything else. So now it's going to be more of, will he be ready for the beginning of the off season in the summertime? Because if you have surgery on a Liz Frank, man, that can put you out 6 months.
Yeah.
9 months.
And you know what?
Easy.
Here's what I'm going to say about this real quick. Never wish an injury on any player. Kind of happy this is happening. With all the issues we've been having in the wide receiver room, drop balls, not high pointing the ball, this and that. Again, they are getting better, but with all the issues we've had, Pittsburgh might not need to draft a wide receiver this offseason. If Calvin Austin III can come back and be healthy, I mean, they typically always draft a wide receiver, late rounds, whatever, 3rd round, whatever. They always invest in a wide receiver. You basically have a rookie coming off, an injury that no one's going to have seen play. He's going to have no NFL highlights. It's going to be almost like they just drafted him again. He's just going to be coming out of an injury, unfortunately. And it's, I think it's a good thing for Pittsburgh. Again, I don't wish an injury on anybody, but Calvin Austin III coming out of this, he's still a surprise player. No one's going to have known anything about him. So I'm actually kind of excited for this and hope that Pittsburgh can use it to their advantage to maybe sneak another surprise player just back on the roster from the IR, obviously. He's not going to get picked up on waivers or anything because he's on the injured reserve. But I'm intrigued by this and curious what this means for Pittsburgh's offseason, the wide receiver room moving forward. So exciting stuff, kind of.
Yeah, it's interesting because I still would have loved to have seen him come back this year just because I feel like he could have been an upgrade at that 4th wide receiver position. It's basically the top 3 wide receivers and then a bunch of guys that they're not really willing to use much in the wide receiver.
Unless it's an end around.
When they do so, it's end around, it's go deep and we're thrown to somebody else. They're not really incorporating any of the other receivers into the offense. So I would have liked to have seen him, but now it is almost like he's going to be part of the 2023 draft class.
Yep.
So it's an extra wide receiver, and I could see. I agree with you. I won't be surprised if they don't take a wide receiver at all in the 2023 draft, because they'll look at him as basically part of that draft class now. Except for the fact that now he's got a whole year of studying the playbook.
Yep.
Now who knows? Maybe there's a new offensive coordinator next year, so maybe that's
next
not as much
year.
Of a benefit as it could be. Well, I don't know. Everyone wants Tomlin to just fire Canada, but I don't think it's quite that easy or that simple.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy, but at the same time, you got to do something.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I agree. So I am excited to see Calvin Austin III come back. Other injury news: TJ Watt returned to practice on Wednesday, which starts his 21-day window. So he is going to be going through all that. Again, James has said this multiple times. We expect to see him after the bye week. That is within that 21 days. That's perfect. That's all we need. TJ is going to come back after the bye week and still win Defensive Player of the Year. Also, I called it last week, James. I tagged you on Facebook. I know you saw it. For those of you that didn't see it, NFL on Fox or NFL, some Facebook page posted, NFL sack leaders, watch out quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. The first week that it's not Alex Highsmith is when people start talking about the NFL sack leaders. So called it.
And it's not even like it's the mid-season point or anything.
Nope.
We're 7 games in. I could see it if they waited until after the 8th week, maybe.
Yep.
Because then it's almost right in the middle of the season. But after 7 weeks is oddly peculiar, as if they really didn't want a Steelers name in the highlights there. So
that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I understand your skepticism there, man. I'm very excited about TJ Watt returning to practice. Seems as though he's 100% recovered from whatever knee surgery he had, so it must have been a real minor cleanup kind of thing, remove some scar tissue, whatever. And it appears as though he's basically 100% with that shoulder. My guess is they're just trying to be cautious, give it that little bit of extra time before he goes 100% in practice and then in a game. I feel bad for the Saints because I feel like he's going to go off in that game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 3 or 4 sack performance in that game.
And I hope it's Andy Dalton.
Have so much. Yeah, right? He's going to have so much pent up frustration from not being able to play, from watching people talk trash on his teammates, from watching his teammates struggle without him and knowing that he hasn't been able to help him like he would like to.
And watching his teammate do well and then not get recognition.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm excited for that game. That'll be a good time. Injury report time. I'm going to go over Pittsburgh Steelers injuries up to today being Thursday. James is going to go over the Philadelphia Eagles first. Pittsburgh Steelers. The cornerback room, 3 guys on the list. Josh Jackson with a groin injury, Akilla Witherspoon with a hamstring injury, and Levi Wallace with a shoulder injury. Levi Wallace did not participate yesterday or today. Akilla Witherspoon was full participation both days. That's phenomenal. And then Josh Jackson, again, he's lower end guy that they brought in with all the other injuries they were dealing with. Did not participate yesterday with limited participation today, moving in the right direction. If we wind up needing him, if Levi Wallace can't go, he'll more than likely get some playing time. Defensive tackle room looks a little beat up. You have Martravius Adams, hamstring, didn't participate yesterday, full participation today. That's good. Cam Hayward, contusion to the birth certificate. He did not participate today.
There it is.
Larry Ogunjobi, knee injury, did not participate either day so far this week, Wednesday or Thursday. And then the offensive side of the ball, wide receiver Steven Sims, hamstring injury, continuing to move forward, but was full participation today in practice. And then Pat Freiermuth with an ankle injury, limited participation yesterday, full participation today. That is great news for Pat Freiermuth moving forward. Eagles injuries.
Yeah, looks promising on the Steelers front. A lot of guys moving in the right direction. Looks like there's a decent chance of Witherspoon coming back, which you kind of have to have because it looks like Levi Wallace is without a doubt going to be down.
Yep.
We'll see how long this shoulder keeps him down. Josh Jackson, I hope he continues trending in the right direction there. because otherwise they are going to be a little bit short if he's down in addition to Levi Wallace.
Yeah.
Real surprised to see Steven Sims already a full participant. I
Same.
expected him to be down a few weeks.
Yep.
So that could be a promising thing on that front as well. So, yeah, let's get into the Eagles a little bit here. So a lot of guys, they rested on Thursday, and it is not injury related. So I'm just going to list all those guys and get them out of the way. James Bradbury, not injury related. A.J. Brown, Fletcher Cox, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Siamalo, Darius Slay, Josh Sweat. All these guys just got a day off, a veteran's day off.
Yep.
Actual injuries on the team. Defensive end Brandon Graham was a limited participant on Thursday's practice. Didn't participate at all on Wednesday, but with a hamstring, you got to figure he's probably going to be kind of doubtful. Wouldn't be surprised if he hits the injury list. Lane Johnson, their talented offensive tackle, coming back from a concussion. He's going through concussion protocol, was limited Wednesday, full Thursday. So keep an eye on what that looks like for Friday. If he goes back to limited, then he ain't playing on Sunday.
Yep.
If he's full again on Friday, then he's probably going to play.
Yep.
Past that, the only other one that I'm seeing that's an actual injury here, cornerback Josh Jobe, full participant with a shoulder injury. He was full on Thursday as well. So they're looking a lot healthier than we are, but we're trending in the right direction. So I like seeing that because a lot of these guys that were unable to help in previous games, and a lot of the higher end talent too, like Akel Witherspoon, he's been down for 3 or 4 weeks now, it seems, and might be the best corner on the team. Him or Sutton is probably the best. So I'm looking forward to seeing some Witherspoon action back out on that field.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see what's going to be moving on, or what's going to be going on with that game and the injuries as it comes up. So keep an eye on those. We'll probably post on our social media account whenever the final one comes out. We'll make sure to share that with you guys. Looking at the Eagles real quick, let's break down their roster really fast. Not really fast, but just going over the players. Obviously, quarterback, you have Jalen Hurts starting. Jalen Hurts has been playing phenomenal so far this year. His stat line is actually fairly impressive. For the fact that, and let me clarify, impressive in the sense, I should have worded that differently. Impressive in the sense that it's not like, it's impressive that they're winning games. He's only thrown 6 touchdowns. Like that's it. So their defense is playing well. They're not allowing many teams to score on their defense. He's thrown 2 interceptions. He's thrown for 1,500 yards. He's playing fairly well. Again, in these games, he hasn't had one game so far where he hasn't been sacked. And last week, he was sacked 4 times by the Cowboys defense. So hopefully Pittsburgh can get to him and get to him often. There were 2 other games where he was sacked 3 times earlier in the year by not so impressive defenses. So Jalen Hurts, the guy to watch for in the quarterback room, and then the wide receivers, because I'm going to skip the running back for a second. You got A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, Devontae Smith. Those 3 right there are the animals that we need to be on the lookout for. The Batmen is what they call themselves. So anything you want to say about those 4 guys, quarterback, wide receivers?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, they're kind of using him in a similar style to the Baltimore Ravens offense.
Yep.
With a lot of that RPO or run pass option. So it'll look like it's starting off as a run play, then he makes the decision to hand it off or not. He still can run and does a lot. He's got a lot of games this year with 10 to 15 carries in them. And then he can throw off of that as well. Very difficult thing for a lot of teams to defend. Pittsburgh has a ton of experience in defending this because that's what Baltimore's been running for the last 3 years. And they have been able to give Baltimore fits, absolute fits. With their style of defending against this. Now, a lot of that has been due to the success of having TJ Watt in. So we'll see how much of a difference that is, TJ Watt versus Malik Reed. But at least the Steelers defense knows exactly how to defend this type of offense because they see it twice a year, every year. The difference being there's a lot of skill at the wide receiver position, and Baltimore does not have that, man.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown built like a running back. He's like a 230-pound 6-footer. And then you got Devontae Smith, who's like the complete opposite, 6 foot, 170, but lightning fast.
Yep.
And then Quez Watkins kind of in the middle of those guys. But there's some serious talent in that wide receiver room. The Pittsburgh secondary has been doing better every week, it seems like. So
Even with the injuries,
almost
yeah.
don't get as nervous. Yeah,
Yeah.
you almost don't get as nervous. I mean, we even saw last week Terrell Edmonds run step for step with Tyreek Hill and defend the pass and bat it down at the end of the play. Like these guys are taking steps forward. The secondary is really coming together. We just need that front seven to get a little more pressure and start getting some sacks to help them out.
Yeah. Running back Miles Sanders, the Penn State boy himself, very good running back, capable running back with Boston Scott in the back as well. So keep a lookout on that. You want to go over offensive line?
Sure, man. Let's talk about these big hogs, man. There's a lot of high value investment going on here. Left tackle Jordan Mailata is one of those huge mammoth dudes. I want to say he's like 6'8", well over 350. Just a big, big boy over there, left tackle. Left guard, the name Landon Dickerson should sound familiar because a couple years ago we were talking about him in the pre-draft process.
Yep.
He was one of the top prospects coming out that played the center but could also play guard. They're using him at guard, but they're doing that because of how good Jason Kelsey is.
Yep.
So left side, very, very strong for this team. Right guard, Isaac Siamalu, the closest thing there is to a weak spot on this offensive line, with right tackle Lane Johnson quite possibly being the best right tackle in the NFL. He's definitely up there. So big thing to be watching as far as Lane Johnson and his concussion. Because if he doesn't clear, then we've got Jack Driscoll coming in at right tackle. And you got to feel a lot better about going against Jack Driscoll than you do Lane Johnson. So,
absolutely.
Some stout boys. What about the tight ends here?
Yeah, Dallas Goedert, Jack Stahl. Dallas Goedert is the biggest name on this team as far as obviously the tight end position. He's their starter, but Dallas Goedert has been getting better consistently every single year I've seen him play. I remember drafting him in a fantasy draft, I think his second year in, and he's been in the year for 5 years now, and he's playing very, very well. He already has a touchdown on the year, 26 receptions, 357 yards. He's averaging 13 yards per reception. So very similar to how we want Pittsburgh to operate with their tight ends. Philadelphia can operate with their tight ends. So keep an eye for Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field. My fear in this game, honestly, is less of the wide receiver room, more of that tight end room, specifically Dallas Goedert. I can't lie. Defensive side of the ball, I don't believe we're going to be seeing Robert Quinn this week. I don't think he's going to be either eligible to play or able to play. He just got traded from the Bears to the Eagles earlier this week or last week. And so I don't think we're going to see him play, but there is a chance he might come in. I'm not sure how fast he can learn that playbook and the schemes and everything. But he's not listed on their depth chart yet, but they did trade for him. So defensive line here, you have Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave is a name that should sound familiar, and Josh Sweat. Fletcher Cox being probably the best of all these guys, but you also have to remember Jordan Davis could potentially come in on a rotation. Jordan Davis was a very high draft pick that we talked about that we wanted Pittsburgh to get. Thankfully, Philadelphia jumped in front of the Baltimore Ravens to pick this guy up. So again, this defensive front is very fast for their size, I should say. They're not very fast.
Yeah. There's quick dudes.
Yeah, they're like, you wouldn't expect them to be quick, but they're quick because they're so big.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brandon Graham.
Josh Sweat is a highly athletic dude, very highly athletic.
Yep.
And Brandon Graham had a lot of comparisons to Lamar Woodley when he came out. Very similar frame type guy, stout, powerful, but also quick off the ball. Now, real quick here, I want to talk Javon Hargrave for a couple seconds.
Yep.
We loved Javon Hargrave with the Steelers. He did his 4-year rookie deal with us. Went to Philly because, let's be honest, we were stuck up against the cap. We couldn't afford him, and he got like $13 million a year with them. That being said, he's in the final year of that deal with the Eagles, and they just drafted a first-round defensive tackle that is just basically the size of Mount Everest. He's going to get a lot of playing time moving forward, and the rumor is the Eagles will not be retaining Javon Hargrave after this season, which does pose an interesting question. If you're Pittsburgh and your starting nose tackle, Tyson Alualu, is done, gone, going into retirement most likely at 35, 36 years old. His backup, Montravis Adams, hasn't really done much. Do you consider going after a guy like Javon Hargrave and bringing him back to the black and gold?
Yeah. He'll be 30 at that time, I believe.
Yeah.
But again, he knows majority of the playbook, obviously different defensive coordinator now than when he was with us. But you don't typically, normally they don't change too much.
And he's highly disruptive. He's quick off the ball.
He's what we need. He's what we need.
He's stout against the run. He gets you some pass rush as well, which we're not getting out of our two current nose tackles. We got no pass rush out of those guys right now. Javon Hargrave would be a massive upgrade. It wouldn't come cheap.
But it wouldn't be wildly expensive either. I'm sure
it'd be at least 10 mil.
I don't think he has a sack on the year yet. Everyone else on this defensive line has at least 2.5.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that he doesn't quite call for the payday that he got when he first left. But this is something that Pittsburgh needs to do, not to get off of going over their depth chart. Pittsburgh needs to look for ways this offseason to bring in talent at a cheaper price, because you cannot ignore the secondary in this year's draft. And we've seen that on show multiple times this year already. So I think there's going to be things that Pittsburgh needs to prioritize that maybe they've put on the back burner for a couple years, and a couple years too many. So we'll have to wait and see how that's going to go.
And if you can bring a guy like that in, that gives you a couple-year Band-Aid to not have to invest highly in the draft on a defensive tackle. You're not going to get a guy like him in the third round too often.
Nope.
That was a diamond in the rough, man. That was an excellent pick by Kevin Colbert. People love to say how Kevin Colbert could draft. That was a hell of a pick in the third round, man. Javon Hargrave was an excellent D tackle. Yeah, I think that would be an excellent opportunity for them personally, because then they can kind of ignore the defensive tackle position in the draft instead of drafting someone who isn't really going to make that big of an impact on a game when you're mostly in your nickel and dime defense these days.
Yeah.
You want me to take linebackers?
Go linebackers. I'll go secondary.
Okay, so your strong side linebacker, Hassan Reddick. Mike linebacker or middle linebacker, TJ Edwards, and then your will side or weak side linebacker, Kaiser White. Now, we do have Nakobe Dean also in the middle, if that name sounds familiar. That was the highly touted middle linebacker out of Georgia, also a very recent draft pick. And then their backups, Patrick Johnson and Sean Bradley, also some guys with some pedigree there. So highly athletic linebacker crew. Kaiser White was a former safety, I believe.
He's fast.
From West Virginia. Fast. Yeah, so this is not a huge guy, but he's very fast, which is why he's on the weak side. Hassan Reddick was also a height, weight, speed guy that they've just been trying to figure out in the NFL. Is he an edge or is he a middle? Well, now they're using him as a strong side in a 4-3, which gets you the opportunity to basically use him like an edge most of the time without having to match up exclusively against tackles and guards.
Yep.
So puts him in more favorable matchups to use his speed and explosiveness on the outside. So a talented and athletic group that you definitely have to be aware of where they're at all times. Yep. Might be some misdirection would be useful against guys with this kind of speed.
Very much so. If they overcommit to one side, you can get out on the edge on the other side. The secondary on this team, corners specifically first, you got James Bradbury and Darius Slay, both phenomenal cornerbacks. Darius Slay previously of the Detroit Lions. Then you have the nickel cornerback Avonte Maddox, very capable nickel inside guy. Safeties, Marcus Epps and CJ Gardner-Johnson. CJ Gardner-Johnson, again, another name you should know. We've talked about him before. He's only been in the league 3 years. We were looking at him back in the first draft preview we ever did. He was a name that we had brought up. So secondary is no joke. You got to be aware of where these guys are. My biggest concern here would probably be Darius Slay. Very
big
capable.
Big
play Slay. I think he has 3 picks on the year. Yeah, 3 interceptions on the year already. For Darius Slay. Just like Minka, exactly. And then obviously the special teams, you have Jake Elliott, phenomenal kicker. Aaron Sipos is their is their punter.
It's Aaron. I bet it's Aaron.
Long snapper Rick Lovato, because long snappers matter. And then you have joint return for kick return with Quez Watkins and Britton Covey. And then Britton Covey specifically being their punt returner. Britton Covey being a player who I believe has only been, he's a rookie. And he was drafted this past year, 5'8", 173 from Utah. So we'll see what's going on there. Little guy, 5'8". I'm taller than him. I'm taller than him. I weigh more than him.
So am I.
I weigh a lot more than him. Wow.
I got him by 40 pounds, man.
But let's go ahead and go over our 3 keys to success here. Do you want me to start or you to start?
I think it's your turn to go first.
Okay, so my 3 keys to success. Number one is, I'm going to be a little bit more specific than I normally am. We need to run the ball. We need to control the clock. We need to have a ground game in this game, specifically to keep their offense off the field and put up points. I believe that Pittsburgh needs to time of possession. We need to out time them by 7-8 minutes minimum in order to have a good chance in this game. I think Pittsburgh needs to control the clock, and I think they need to do a good job of that. Second thing, you cannot have Kenny Pickett get gun shy all of a sudden. Kenny Pickett needs to continue to throw the ball downfield, continue to make plays with his feet, and he needs to have the confidence and the support of his teammates. So there's no, I know I said I'm going to be specific. I realize that's not very specific. I want to see Kenny Pickett have opportunities to make plays is basically what I'm saying. And then lastly, we need to get to the quarterback. You need to get to Jalen Hurts on defense. You need to disrupt the passing lanes. You need to get all those things. Get Cam Hayward, get your arms up. Tyson Alualu, get your hands up. Martavis Adams, whoever's in there, knock some balls down, get big. Jalen Hurts is not a big dude. Make it hard for him to see downfield and apply pressure, get some sacks.
I like it, man. I like it. I'm a little bit different from you this week. I typically am. Number one, play disciplined football. Last week, there weren't a lot of penalties. There was only 5, but 2 of them back-to-back were absolutely crippling. Pittsburgh had a 3rd and 1 opportunity, converted it, had an illegal shift penalty that brought them back to 3rd and 6. Then they had another penalty that brought them back to 3rd and 16. Next play was an interception. Don't let these penalties pile up on top of each other and then put yourself in a bad situation on an important down. So play disciplined football is my first takeaway. Number 2, take advantage of turnover opportunities. Jalen Hurts is not Patrick Mahomes out there. He's a good quarterback, but he's going to give you some opportunities. You cannot drop interceptions like you did last week and expect to win.
Huge.
You have to take advantage of that. So when you get those opportunities to get the turnovers, you got to do it. Number 3, get in the freaking end zone, man. These drives have to finish with touchdowns. No more field goals. I love Boswell. He's really doing good the last few weeks, getting pretty precise with those kicks again. We gotta get Kenny getting in the end zone, man. I need to see a 2-3 touchdown performance out of Kenny, because if we don't start scoring, 24, 27, 30 points on a regular, we're just not going to turn the season around.
Nope.
So that's where I'm at with my keys to success this week.
I like it. Make sure you guys share your 3 keys to success with us, whether it be on Facebook or anywhere you want to send us on the YouTube comments. Let us know how you think we should what we should do specifically to defeat the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Subscribe and ring the bell. It's free. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.